Today I wanted to talk about exactly how residential or commercial agents can dominate in today's market. Maybe like 1 or 2 or 3 things that you feel like can really help an agent blow up their business today in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually probably a lot of different things that they could be doing. They got to have a brand, they got to develop it properly. They have to have a consistent strategy to go to market to actively prospect for their clientele, regardless of what side of the industry that they're on. And number 3 is they have to stay consistent and somehow build a team and infrastructure around them to support the scalability of the business.
What helped me in the beginning and what I've seen help other individuals is find somebody with the model that you want to do. Let's say you want to call for sale by owners, you want to call expireds, you want to do open houses. Find somebody that's been ultra successful within that model and figure out a way to either work for them, provide some value, or pay them for their knowledge.
Perspective is absolutely everything, and what I see with agents that are struggling, they always have a negative perspective, and you have to turn negatives into a positive. So for me, if you're in a funk, you have to choose 2 things, one active, one passive form of prospecting. We heard a lot today of FSBOs and calling, one of the things that you're a master at, that's gonna give you now a media business. But in order to build a long-term scalable business, I think you need to blend that with content. So that's why I always recommend YouTube, due to the evergreen nature, the leverage of it, the scalability of it, and be able to attract instead of always having to go and hunt.
Number 1 is your mindset. First off, you got to control what's up here.
Not as intimidating as you would think, just because you can't wrap your mind around the numbers initially. Lean on someone like Henry or another person that you can use as a resource to understand the numbers and understand that actually it's not as regulated. It's, as Henry always says, it's the wild, wild west. There's not as many barriers to entry as you may think, and the spreads are much larger and you get a lot more return on your time through the leverage.
Proximity, find mentors, find people that have come before you and done what you want to do, whatever it is. If you want to be a tennis player, find professional tennis players, real estate professionals, find them.
Obviously, you and I pump a ton of content out there, but it didn't start like that.
Yeah.
What's like the 1 or 2 or 3 things someone can do right off the bat if they're not doing any content right now to at least get them started?
The biggest thing is documenting what you're already doing. I think at the end of the day, anybody knows that the goal is to know, like, and trust. People get to know you by seeing one piece of content. They get to like you by seeing consistent, but they only get to trust you when you start being vulnerable. Facts tell, stories sell, and one of the biggest things I always recommend is share your story. As soon as you start feeling emotionally connected to somebody, that's when you start being able to attract the right type of people through Instagram stories, for example. Share something about your journey. And one of the things that I always tell people is that it's very easy to leave a business or a service. It's very difficult to leave a friend. When you feel connected to people by that vulnerability, that's when you're going to start to generate more repeat, more referrals, and ultimately more immediate business.
What would you tell somebody they want to break into a little bit higher price points? What would they do?
Change your environment. That's the number 1 thing that I did is I got in front of the number 1 people, the top 5 people in the state. I hung out with them and I held all their open houses every weekend, every single weekend for multiple years straight. And I started breaking into higher price points, 7 million, 10 million, 15 million. And then it just started to consistently roll in.
If you were talking to a brand new agent today, or even an agent, let's just say maybe been in the business a few short years and they're struggling right now in the residential world, would you recommend commercial and why?
I would actually, because the reality is the biggest problem that you're facing and abutting on the residential world is lack of prospecting in general. And when you take yourself and you surround yourself with tons of people that are spending all day prospecting, and that's the entire culture of everything that's being done, you're going to force yourself to start doing those daily activities that result in the successes that you're looking for.
The entrepreneurs that I see that end up becoming wildly successful are like Swiss Army knives, right? They have multiple tools in their toolkit they can pull out and apply to any given situation. I think when people are limiting themselves to just one traditional way of doing business, they are hindering themselves in terms of what they can make from every transaction. So being able to look at all these different options and apply the right one to any given situation, that's just going to give you more opportunities to scale.
The most amount of growth that happened in my life was when I was in the worst position of my life. Rock bottom, right? I think a lot of you guys have a plan B, you have a plan C. If this doesn't work, then I'll do that. If that doesn't work, then I'll do this. I think you got to burn the ships and put yourself, depending on your situation, right? Some of you guys have kids, some of you guys got other situations, but put yourself in the most uncomfortable place where staying the same hurts more than making the changes you have to make mentally with your environment, with the people you learn from to get to where you want to go.
That wants to get into commercial, first off, they need to hit you up because I've seen Garth's success just going through what you've taught him. And then that also led to another guy that he's bringing on that's doing commercial, Conrad. I heard he's killing it now, just getting in a circle, getting into the group of people just like yourself that's already killed it. They're telling me all the good shit about you, bro.
So like I kind of follow the traditional path in the investment space. So like everybody, what's that like poster, I don't know if you've ever seen it, that's got like a monkey to a caveman to a human. They all think they have to start small and work their way up. And I went from like wholesaling to flipping to landlording, creative, when at the end, like I was headed towards like mobile homes, parks, and like storage units, where I could have just started out straight with big deals.
100%.
And I've actually seen some incredible success stories of people I know in my personal life where their first deal was a huge apartment. Like that guy you told, he's like a $600,000 potential commission, a $6 million multifamily. So the first thing is it takes the same amount of time to do a big deal as it does a small deal, for sure. And the only reason you're not going for big deals right off the bat is your limitation and your belief system about who you are and your self-worth, and your belief system towards yourself, not can you actually do it. So just go straight to bigger deals.
Biggest thing that I always recommend is who you surround yourself, so environment and who you're learning from. Every time I've been able to scale my business, I've now invested $1 million into coaching and personal development. I've always surrounded myself with people who are at a higher level than me. I think a lot of people end up keeping themselves in the same circle, which is why their income plateaus. So surrounding yourself with people like you who are at that next caliber is, in my opinion, the only way that you're gonna get there, so you can avoid years of mistakes by learning from people immediately who've already done it.
Put yourself in a position where you could learn from the people that have already done it. 2, start investing a little bit of your commission checks, man. Like you were saying up on stage, put some money away instead of spending. Most agents will spend, they'll trade time for money, spend that make that active income, and then spend it. But instead, invest it. Think longer term, and people think short term, and they're like, oh, I don't know if I should put this there. I don't know, it's risky. It's risky to keep spending it and consuming instead of investing it. So invest your money early and often, and create a discipline, just like working out.
What do you feel like is the biggest differentiator between someone who's making a few hundred grand and someone who's making a few million?
The reason why you don't see a lot of people worth 100 million or a billion, it's not because you couldn't see more billionaires or people worth 100 million. It's that people have a goal to be a billionaire and make 100 million, but when they make the first 5, they get comfortable and they say, I don't want to put the stress on my body. I don't want to die at 60. I'd rather live to 80 and have 10 million than die at 50 and have a billion or something like that. So it really has to do with your big goals. Some people get to where they're making a couple $100 grand a year passive income, and they can pay for their kids college, and they're happy with having their time. So I think it's just the size of the goal and what people want to do with their life. But if it's, and also once you start having a lot more money, you realize materialism's fun, stuff's fun, but it's not what drives you. So the ones that either push past it, either have just this psycho obsession with getting yachts and planes, or they have an impact vision where they want to do something big in the world, impact people positively, their communities, fight for a real freedom after they get their financial freedom.
You're a little hesitant at first. You think it's somehow going to be more complicated, more difficult, more nuanced, but I found it's actually kind of the opposite. Outside of the valuations of properties, which you've really helped a lot with the underwriting of all the properties and things, but outside of that, it's really the same process. Find a buyer, find a seller, put them together, make some money. If I cold call a random commercial building, there's a really high likelihood that if they're not selling, they're buying. They're doing something because they're active investors. And so you're always going to be able to create a relationship with almost every phone call that picks up, which makes things feel a lot more productive when you're on the phone.
The people that are not making anything, they're just making excuses.